Oh, give thanks to the Lord, call on his name, make known his deeds among the peoples.
Sing to him, sing your praises to him, tell of all his wonderful works.
It's good to greet you this morning. Let me explain the plant, okay, since we just moved it. We used to keep them up here, and then people who were in there said they couldn't see me when I was preaching. That's there so that you don't see me the whole time I'm not preaching. So this is kind of a halfway methodology, so maybe now just see my head sticking up but not the rest of me. I don't know whether that's important, but I just thought I'd explain it. Anyhow, it's good to see you this morning and to welcome those of you who are visiting with us today. On behalf of the church, let me welcome you and to extend to you a special invitation to participate in any of the programs that the chapel sponsors. Hopefully you will enjoy the service and that you will come and worship with us again. The announcements are printed in your bulletin. There are several to which I will call your special attention. Don't forget that the memorial service for Chuck and Winnie Oliver will be this coming Saturday morning at 11 o'clock at the Regency Oaks Town Hall. If you go to that, please park over at the Marketing Center, which is right across the street from the Town Hall, just because they don't have that much parking up there. Those of you who signed up, and even if you didn't sign up but still want to go, I guess that there is still room for the Have a Great Summer luncheon over at Post Corner following the worship service this morning. A chance to just kind of socialize, I guess, and to say goodbye to those who are winter visitors and part-time residents, and will be leaving for the summer, but hopefully coming back in the fall. There are 5 already from the congregation who have told Joe Cregan that they would like to take that day trip to the Holy Land, the attraction over in Orlando. If you are interested, please contact him so that he can make the necessary arrangements and figure out dates and things like that. I've been asked a couple of times from those who will not be here for half the year whether or not they can catch, how they can keep up with the church's worship services and programs. If you don't already know it, we do have the service on the website. So just tack into the website, www.chapelbythesea.net, and you can see the full service. Most of the time our equipment's working just fine, so every now and then there's a snag and we miss it, but usually you'll be able to get it. And also, if you're going away and want to continue to contribute to the chapel, you can set up a program where your offerings are taken out of a credit card or your bank or however you want to do it. That's the way several of us do it. It's certainly easy, and it helps the church too. So with that information, let us now begin our service of worship.
Oh, how he loves
let us join responsively in our invitation to celebration. Let us, at least for a few moments, put the cares and concerns of the world aside.
Let us, at least for a few moments, embrace the peace and quiet which renews and refreshes.
In this time we have together, let us raise our hearts to the divine.
We will, as we express our gratitude for the gifts you have given.
This is the time for prayer and praise, for meditation and inspiration.
This is the time to worship God.
In unison, let us call upon God with our invocation. Great God, you who are within us and without us, above us and below us, before us and beside us, and behind us and around us, enable us to feel your loving touch, regardless of the paths our lives have taken and the difficulties that have come our way. Help us to know that through faith and in you, we hopefully find rest. Make us all things your instrument to those who needs, whether physical or mental, emotional or spiritual, and let them see you in through us. Grant us the desire to be more like Jesus, the one in whom we have seen you most perfectly manifested. And let us begin life anew, even as we, once again, repeat the words we believe came from Christ. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and lead us not into temptation, and lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
How can I say thanks for all the things you have done for me? Things so undeserved, yet you give to prove your love for me. The voices of a million angels could not express my gratitude. All that I am and ever hope to be, I owe it all to thee. To God be the glory. To God be the glory. To God be the glory for all the things he has done. With his blood he has saved me. With his power he has raised me. To God be the glory for all the things he has done. Just let me live my life and let it be pleasing, Lord, to thee. And should I gain any praise, let it go to Calvary. With his blood he has saved me. With his power he has raised me. To God be the glory for all the things he has done. For the things he has done.
In gratitude for the many gifts we have received and in commitment to this church, let us be generous in our morning offering.
What a world, O God, what a world. When we look at it and all its components, from the biggest to the smallest, we are amazed at the beauty, the complexity, the coordination, the vitality. And we are so grateful that it is our world. And yet it is so magnificent that we cannot possibly comprehend all of it, not even close. There is no way our limited intelligence can look at the heavens and realize their immensity. There is no way our limited intelligence can look at a living, breathing organism and realize its intricacy. And somehow this all came from you, you who we understand even less than we understand our world. Enlarge our minds and strengthen our spirits and increase our curiosity and fortify our belief so that we will get the most that is possible out of life and live ours to the fullest. Make us so in awe of our world that we will begin to move selflessly to preserve it. Turn us into creatures who care about one another to the extent that love replaces hate and peace replaces violence. Grant us grace as well as the knowledge that you love us. So we pray together, and now we come to you alone in the silence. I want to read to you this morning a passage from the Hebrew Scriptures. It's a familiar story. You all know it. I'm reading from Genesis 4, verses 1 through 9. Now the man knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have produced a man with the help of the Lord. Next she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain a tiller of the ground. In the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground, and Abel for his part brought of the firstlings of his flock, their fat portions. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard. So Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. The Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry, and why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is lurking at the door. Its desire is for you, and you must master it." Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let us go out to the field." And when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" He said, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" Let us think about those words as we continue together in our worship service this morning. This morning I want to talk to you about brotherhood. I guess you could guess that by the sermon title. And while what I am going to say applies to sisters as well as to brothers, so I am thus using the word with gender neutrality, it will be brothers that provide the examples, because it is brothers we find in the biblical accounts which I am planning to share. It is amazing how many dysfunctional family relationships are revealed in the Scriptures. And it begins right at the beginning with the first two brothers. We are told that Adam and Eve, symbolically the first man and the first woman, have two sons. We don't know anything about their childhoods or their upbringing. Cain, the older, becomes a farmer, and Abel, the younger, becomes a shepherd. They both offer to God a sacrifice of what they have raised, a product resulting from their toil. Abel's lamb is accepted. Cain's vegetables are rejected. He probably should have picked something besides Brussels sprouts. Anyhow, Cain is a great deal more than just disturbed by this development. In fact, he is furious and so jealous that he kills Abel. Spontaneously, premeditatedly, we don't know. He certainly sets the stage by inviting Abel to go for a walk with him into the fields. And who has angered him the most, God or Abel? We don't know that either. We only know the results. Abel is dead and Cain gets caught. And it is when he gets caught that he provides that great line which we as his descendants have used ever since, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Ishmael and Isaac are two sons of Abraham, but of different mothers. After God promises that Abraham will be the father of a great nation and Sarah is apparently barren, they get a bit desperate, and so she offers to him her slave Hagar to bear him a child. The result is Ishmael. Somewhat later, however, and in her old age, Sarah conceives and Isaac is born, at which point the green monster raises its ugly head. Sarah does not want there to be any competition for Abraham's affection between Hagar's son and her son. So Sarah forces Abraham to send them, Hagar and Ishmael, into the wilderness, and if they die, they die. But God intervenes, and they are saved. Now, we don't know if there is ever any brotherly animosity between Isaac and Ishmael directly, but we do know that their descendants, the Hebrews and the Ishmaelites, are bitter enemies. And think about the present-day relationship between the Jews and the Arabs, who respectively consider Isaac and Ishmael to be their ancestors. How about Esau and Jacob? Esau, the manly hunter, and Jacob, the mama's boy. Isaac favors Esau, Rebekah favors Jacob. Esau, as the older twin, is entitled to the firstborn's birthright and blessing. But then, impulsive and less than as sharp as attack, he gives them away when hungry and tired. He returns from hunting and trades these to Jacob for a bowl of beans. Jacob and Rebekah contrive to fool the nearly blind Isaac, who unwittingly mistakes Jacob for Esau, and the deed is done. Jacob has won the lottery. Esau, when reality catches up to him, swears vengeance, and Jacob takes off, not to return until decades later. He and Esau finally make their peace, but only after a great deal of angst on Jacob's part, and I doubt if their relationship ever becomes warm and fuzzy. Let's move to the next generation and take a look at Jacob's kids, and especially his favorite son, Joseph. Joseph is a spoiled brat who lords it over his siblings. He is so obnoxious that they plan to kill him, but instead sell him to slavers, Ishmaelite slavers, who in turn take him to Egypt for disposal. Joseph's story is long and complicated. Suffice it to say that he, after a good deal of hardship and anxiety, rises to the second most important post in the nation, that behind the Pharaoh, and is ultimately reunited with his father and with his brothers. But not until after a considerable amount of fear on their part and satisfaction on his. I said that they become reunited, but I suspect the relationship is never close. And the entire episode results in centuries of Hebrew slavery, which finally ends through the mission of Moses. Then we have the sons of David. Yes, the great King David. Dysfunctional family is too timid a designation to use in this situation. David has a bunch of wives, and many of them bear him sons. The mothers and sons do not get along with the other mothers and sons. In fact, Absalom kills his half-brother Amnon after Amnon rapes Absalom's sister Tamar. Absalom revolts against David and, after almost usurping the crown, is killed by David's general, Joab. Adonijah and Solomon fight for the throne, and Solomon, the ultimate winner, has his brother Adonijah executed. So I guess one reason Solomon is renowned for his wisdom is because he is the one who survives. Finally, we have Jesus' parable of the prodigal son. You all know that one. The younger son of a rich man is restless and impatient. He cannot wait to see the world and have some fun. So he convinces his father to give him his inheritance ahead of time so that he can do just that. The father agrees, the son takes off, frivolously blows it all, and winds up destitute, reduced to slopping hogs just to survive. After almost starving to death, he decides to go home and beg for his father's forgiveness and a second chance. To his amazement, his father runs to welcome him, greets him with open arms, and throws a big party and celebration. At this point, the prodigal's older brother, the one who is steady and dependable, and who has stayed home and worked hard like a good son should, flips out. Nothing his father can say seems to be able to pacify him. And the story ends, without us ever knowing if he calms down and goes to the party. Regardless, I am sure the brothers are never bosom buddies after all that has happened. Interestingly, the biblical brothers who seemed to love and support each other and their father were the sons of King Saul. And the various sibling sisters we know about in the Bible also, for the most part, got along with each other. Sisters like Leah and Rachel, sisters like Mary and Martha, despite some episodes of tension and irritation, like happens in every family. Brotherhood. Have you ever pondered how much of our involvement with other people, as well as how many of our good works and our religious efforts, come out with ourselves having or trying to have the upper hand? However noble the original concept, our motivations can be easily captured by self-interest and self-gratification. Take as an example humility, which is supposed to be one of the less domineering and dominating virtues. Humility is sometimes practiced for pleasure and profit. Played right, humility can get one farther and faster than arrogance. But when it becomes calculated and self-serving, it is one of the worst forms of arrogance. I took a course in humility in seminary. In fact, out of the entire class, I was the best. I was number one. Think about that. Righteousness is also such a virtue. In its highly self-conscious form, it produces some of the most overbearing people on the planet. Hell hath no fury like a person who believes that God told him or her something that God didn't tell anyone else. Now, brotherhood is another of those great ideas that we have so often managed to subvert to our personal advantage. Do you ever think about how savagely some churches fight over brotherhood? The dispute usually being whether all men are brothers or whether only Christians are brothers, and perhaps the second proposition is never mastered because for them, the first one is considered total heresy. And as seen through our earlier biblical examples, it's difficult to believe in the brotherhood of humanity when so many really don't believe in the brotherhood of brothers. It has been said with some accuracy that we can choose our friends, but we are stuck with our relatives. But beyond that, and setting aside brotherhood strictly in terms of biological relationship, one of the problems we tend to have to lesser or greater extents is that we regard brotherhood as a gift we have the option of bestowing on some lucky recipient. What better way to boost our own ego than to say, usually silently, "Isn't it simply great of me to be taking on this unfortunate character as a brother?" So perhaps it's not so surprising then that our brothers, in the usual sense of the term, so often come out looking like poor relations. We get weary of well-doing, but after all, he is my brother. When we give something to him, we can feel that we are doing our teeth-gritting duty. This can be called the "he's as good as I am" level of brotherhood, even if we don't really believe it. To be sure, this motivation, however spiritually inadequate, has accomplished quite a lot. A contribution made out of a sense of obligation, or even with a bit of arm twisting, may indeed do some good, at least in the short run. But at this point in history, we are coming to the end of a lot of long runs. Given the state of the world, one-sided and or artificial brotherhood is no longer acceptable or adequate. It's not enough to talk about the human family, to talk about brotherhood, unless we are really ready to believe it and are ready to do all we can to implement the message and the meaning. It's not enough to spout the goodness of brotherhood when it is little more than a word that we use as we pretend to believe that we know what brotherhood should be. The whole notion of one-sided brotherhood has done great harm to both the little and the big brother, the recipient and the giver. Indeed, brotherhood should be a testimony that there is no big and no little. Brotherhood is not something to be conferred, it is something to be accepted. Not just is he my brother, I am also his brother. Not just do I have something to confer upon him, he has something to confer upon me. As I assign him a relationship to me, I testify to my dignity and worth. As I relate myself to him, I testify to his dignity and worth. Now, this is the we're in the same family level of brotherhood, and I don't think we've reached it yet. Am I my brother's keeper? No, but we should be our brother's helper, our brother's friend, our brother's support, our brother's protector. We should recognize that everyone is our brother, whether or not we always agree or even always like each other. We should realize that our brother is our equal and act as if we know that to be true. We should suppress our egos and accept that in brotherhood, we get at least as much as we give. That child who dies in Syria or Nigeria is every child. That woman who is abused anywhere is every woman. That person who is the victim of injustice and poverty is every person. And every person is our brother. So if there are two sides to brotherhood, let's try to make sure that we are on the right side. Otherwise, what kind of a world will we continue to have? Let us go from here with a true sense of openness to the needs and desires of others, and with a true sense of that brotherhood of humanity, that we're all part of the same family. And as we seek to serve God by serving others, may the Lord bless us and keep us. The Lord make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. The Lord lift the light of his countenance upon us and give us peace, both now and forevermore. Amen.